Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, The Anxiety Princess, where we're talking about anything and everything that has to do with mental illness. Basically, tapping into our emotions in order to determine what could potentially be causing our mental illness related issues. So as I have said in the video that I posted yesterday on the Anxiety Princess page on Facebook, I am back. I am back. And I do plan to be quite more consistent. I wasn't away because I wanted to. I was away because I was working on weekends, and however I've changed jobs, and I do feel as though now I have enough time on weekends to actually shoot content to help you guys and to educate people that have joined our family over the last couple of weeks. And to those people, I'd just like to say welcome. I hope you'll love it here. There's no judgment. It's very chilled. We all just trying to learn how to navigate mental illness. So, as I had said, I have another YouTube channel that I created that will actually be centered around my love for sneakers, career, especially career related to helping CS students, and plus size fashion. So if you someone who also likes that kind of content, please make sure you look for it. It's July summer, and just like, comment, and subscribe to anything I post there. My first video there will be dropping today. I haven't posted anything as yet. I have been getting a lot of people on Instagram asking, create IGTVs for where you get your clothes, create IGTV for sneakers, and but I realized, okay, maybe let me just create another channel, because mainly I do not want to contaminate the content of mental illness, because it's very crucial, it's very important, and it's very serious. So let's see if I can manage to YouTube platforms, but if I don't, I think this remains the number one priority. Cool. So let me just put a disclaimer. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, um, or doctor, or anyone who has been trained to deal with mental illness. I'm purely someone who was diagnosed with anxiety in March of 2019, and I've just been using this platform to tell my story and to tell my truth in efforts to touch a life, in efforts to save a life, and in efforts to actually restore hope in the lives of people who are suffering from mental illness. Cool. So before I get into the topic for today, I just want to attest to something. There's always been this saying that fear and faith cannot coexist. And I think I went through that. I went through that way. I needed to choose one between faith and fear. That is with regards to the current job that I'm in. Like, I doubted myself so much about this job. I didn't think, I have the right qualification. I had the qualifications, just didn't have the experience. But I was just like, no, this is not for me. And, this is what I would love to do in the future when I've gained enough experience and and at that point, I just realized that that was fear speaking over my life, and I needed to choose one. And I needed to choose faith for God to actually put me in a position where He thinks I should be at, or I choose my fear. And the part that played such a crucial thing in all of this was my anxiety. I honestly thought, I didn't deserve it, I wasn't ready for it. And when I got it, when I started applying myself more to saying, you know what, I want this, that's when I chose faith and to let God actually do the rest. And my goodness, He came through, and He came through hard. And my thing is that God would never put you in a situation where He's just going to leave you alone. So I'm very grateful that actually this thing that I've been hearing, I got to live with it, and I got to actually understand they really can't coexist. You need to choose one. So that's basically that and what I wanted to share, but that's not the topic for today. The topic for today, as usual, I have the book. The topic for today is how should we conceptualize a good mental health, and what is it that we're aiming for? So I get this question quite a bit, but in a different manner to how I'm going to explain it now, where people, will say, at which point did you realize that your mental well-being was at a good space? you know that you haven't healed, because I still take medication. I knew I haven't healed, but I knew I was in a good mental state. Do you get me? So yes, my anxiety attacks and stuff will still come, but I've found a little bit of contentment in my situation that I'm going through. So at which point do we actually get to say, okay, now this is what I would consider a good mental health? Remember when you start getting sick, with something like anxiety, you, at least 90% of the time, actually 100% of the time, you're not in control of it. You're not in control of it. When it happens for the first time, it takes over your life. It makes a lot of decisions for you. You're not in control up until a certain point. So the question I get is, at which point did you think that you have moved from that dark place where it was consuming everything that you were doing, to a point where now it sometimes does, but most of the time you have the upper hand? So what are we conceptualizing when we talk about a good mental health? What is it that we're aiming for? So for me, what was I aiming for at a point? I think this only happened last year, beginning of the year when we moved back home. I think I was okay. I think I started feeling a little bit better. I don't know if it was just being content or feeling a sense of like, I'm back at home, my family's here, I have all the support in the world that I need. I don't know. But I will share basically what I think I was aiming for when I started accepting my mental illness, and at which point did I realize actually this is a good mental space to be in. And then I'll share some tips of what is a good mental health. And then I will also give you some signs of a healthy mental well-being. Cool. So the first thing I was aiming for was a point in my life where I could support my feelings with evidence. So I call it evidence versus the state you are in, being able to differentiate between the two. Right. So remember that anxiety is the fear of the unknown. Like, there's certain things where you like, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to do this because something bad is going to happen, but there's no real evidence that anything is actually going to happen. Do you get it? So for me, that was me for a couple of months, where I just wanted to go to work and come back home. That's it. Going out for dates and things like that was not fun anymore, because I was very cautious of my surrounding. I was very anxious of my surroundings. I was very, everybody posed a certain level of danger to me. So I think for me, at the point when I could actually, whenever I had that feeling that something wrong is going to happen if I go outside, I needed to support it with real evidence. Remember, when you're feeling all these things as an anxious person, a person who suffers from anxiety, there's no real evidence that is going to happen. Like, there's no real evidence that, where most of the time, like, maybe someone will shoot me if I go outside. Okay. Evidence would be something like, okay, has someone in the same vicinity as me gone out and been shot? Then there is real evidence happening there. Do you get it? So I think for me, the moment when I was like, if I felt a certain way and I couldn't find evidence to support my feeling, then I knew that it was my anxiety playing tricks on me. Do you get it? So for me, I think the first thing I was aiming for was the point where I could differentiate between a situation having real physical evidence that I could support, and a thought where I don't have evidence and it's purely my mental illness that is playing a game on me. So that point for me was one of the things that I was aiming for. And I think now I've mastered it a little bit. There is sometimes, because of everything happening in South Africa, obviously I'm still very cautious of it, but with real evidence of saying if I go outside, something's gonna happen to me, then it means I'll never go outside. Do you get it? So now I do try to support a feeling, an emotion with evidence. Cool. That was the first thing. The second thing, I think for me, what I was aiming for, there was a point where people kept on saying they've had mental health for like 5 years and they no longer feeling that way. I started comparing my progress and my getting well journey to other people, and it kept on frustrating me so much because I wasn't doing so much progress as everybody else. So that started torturing me a little bit. But as soon as I could understand that mental illness impacts us in different ways, it's not a competition. You need to stop comparing your own healing to other people's healing. The day I did that, I stop now saying, okay, so and so had anxiety for like 5 years and then it was done. I've had it for over 2 years. Okay, so now where's it going? So when I got to a point of never comparing my wellness journey with other people, I started to feel content. So that was the second thing I was aiming for. The third thing, it's when you see this one, that is one I was longing for. I used to be very scared to tell people that I suffer from mental health issues because because it, because then the questions start coming. People start asking you the most uncomfortable questions. That's because I didn't want to be in that position where I'm answering uncomfortable questions. But when it no longer scared me to talk about it, that's when I realized this is healing happening here. I can safely say that when I introduce myself, I don't say that, I suffer from mental health, but it is something I make sure I drop it somewhere, somehow, that yes. So it doesn't define me. It's part of me. Yes, I will share it when I need to share it, all good and well. Right? So now, when people start talking about things that have to do with well-being, I'm first to say, like when it no longer scared me to be so vulnerable and to be so emotional in front of people about it, that's when I knew real healing is happening here. Like, I think this is with anything. It doesn't need to be mental health. When you can speak about something that used to make you feel so uncomfortable, so out of place, when you didn't want to answer questions relating to that thing, and all of a sudden you do, that is healing. This one is the one when I decided to start this page, I was like, oh my goodness, it's really happening. I'm able to stand and be okay to take people's judgment if they want to judge me. That was another thing I was aiming for, speaking about it comfortably and without being scared of what the next person is going to say. Cool. And then the fourth thing, what I was aiming for was the point at which I could ask for help. Help doesn't necessarily need to be me going for counseling, but people around me. Because there are certain days when I feel a type of way and I just need people to do things for me where I'm just not up for it, And then I'd be like, can you please do this for me? Can you please do this for me? So for me, the point where I had figured out who my support system is and was able to be comfortable to ask them to help me with certain things when I'm feeling a kind of way, that for me was something I was aiming for, because I always thought it was a burden onto other people. But as I've mentioned in my videos so many times, that if somebody really loves and cares about you, you'll never be a burden to them. So that is the other thing. And then the last thing I was aiming for was a sense of understanding what is mental health. There is nothing tormenting and torturing as dealing with something you don't know. Mental illness, I don't think anybody has figured it out, but you need to educate yourself about it. There's a level where you need to understand what it is, what it means, what happens when this happens, what should you do when this happens, how do you seek help, how do you deal with it, how do you live your life on a daily when you're dealing with something such as mental illness. There's a level. I say this all the time, education is key. So for the longest time, I thought something was physically wrong with me, like my heart. I thought I had a brain tumor. I thought I had a chest something. I thought I had everything, but never once was I like, no, this is actually mental illness. This is anxiety. But when I started educating myself about it, everything sort of started to fall into place. So the point where I no longer said my anxiety was some other rare disease, and I was able to say, when I'm feeling this way, I know it's purely my anxiety, but when I'm feeling this way, then I'm really sick. I know the kind of headaches I have that relates to anxiety. It's a tension headache. It goes around here. It's a bit heavy. But then there's another headache, which everybody gets. Then I know I can differentiate between the two. Education is key. You can't deal with the unknown in that manner. There has to be a level of information that you know about the unknown you're dealing with. So that for me was another thing I was aiming for, to educate myself as much as I could. Do I think I'm in a good mental state? Yes, I am. I think I'm in a better, like I'm 100% better than the state where I was, as much as I haven't healed 100% fully with my mental illness. Cool. So now, some tips for good health. So how do you manage to get a good mental health, right? So the first thing is recharging, listening to your body, and understanding when your body has had enough. Guys, we're all running on steam. We all want to achieve things. We all have goals that needs to be met. But if goals can actually be moved, why not move them? Like, the minute you put some timelines on your goals while you suffer from mental health issues, actually, even when you don't suffer mental health issues, and 2 weeks before the date that you've put in your life and this goal you can see that's not going to be met, then you start spiraling out of control, right? Recharge, take a step back, reflect, listen to your body, and understand what your body's telling you. If your body is telling you, I think I've had my limit, don't push it any further. Just submit. So that is part of taking care of your well-being, so that your mental health is sane. Because the minute you don't start taking care of your well-being, then you're affecting this, basically. Think for me, that's the first thing. Number 2, refraining from comparing yourself to other people. Mental health wellness journey is not a competition. It's a one-man show. You run the race on your own. Don't run the race with people, because everybody is going through different scenarios. They are dealing with mental health related issues because of different things than what triggers yours. Do you get it? So stop comparing yourself. That is good for your well-being, because it's going to start frustrating you when people are getting better and you're not. Okay. And actually, that just adds another layer of healing that you need to do, because you start stressing yourself even more now that so and so, they had their panic attack after me, but they better. Maybe theirs was just triggered by a small thing, but maybe you have underlying things that you need to work at. Cool. And then ask for help. That's also a tip. Ask for help. Ask for help around the people that you stay with. Ask for help at our local clinics. They have psychologists, psychiatrists, and all those things. But most importantly, the people that you stay in needs to understand when you're not okay. They need to respect that when you're not okay. They need to understand what is required of them when you're not okay. That is part of taking care of your well-being, because those around you, they understand and they get it and they trust the process will work. But now imagine now that I am in a worse state and people around me don't understand and they start annoying me even more, or they start worrying about certain things, don't let people worry about you. At least if you can tell them and if you can ask for help, then they sort of feel as though they are involved in your wellness. Okay, and then the last tip of good mental health is surround yourself with people who care about your well-being. Guys, there are people who don't care about your well-being. Those are the people that will put you in the situation knowing that it will trigger your anxiety. It's people that do not want to allow you time to voice out how you're feeling, the state of your well-being, the state of your mental health. When people can listen to you and try to understand your day to day and how you feel when you wake up to the time when you go to sleep, those are the people you should surround yourself with. If you need to hide your mental health related illnesses from people, then you sort of need to start to wonder, because you're scared that they're going to judge you. Why are you even surrounding yourself with people that pass judgment onto other people? That's my last tip. Cool. And then I'll run quickly now on the signs of a good mental health. I won't elaborate too much on these. The first one is being optimistic. Those are the signs. When you're very positive about things, that's the first step. So I think this one is where I was at when I couldn't differentiate, or I couldn't choose between fear and faith. So I wasn't being optimistic. And at that point, when I decided to have faith, my optimism came up on top. So being optimistic about things that, you don't have real evidence that it's not going to happen, it's kind of thing. So I think that's the first sign. And the second sign is believing in yourself. That's a sign of a good mental health, because mental health tricks you into believing you're not worthy of things that you know you are worthy of. It's the small things. It's the small things. Like for me, one of the things that I always felt as though I was not worthy of is my husband. I just didn't understand why he stayed. I didn't feel as though I deserved him when I was going through all my mental health. I kept asking God, why did you, my poor husband, he was my fiance at the time. I'm like, why when everything is going so well did you have to do this? Is this a sign that he's not meant to be in my life? Now he's gonna leave me. Now this and this and this is gonna happen. So the minute I started believing in myself that underneath that layer of anxiety, there's still the same girl that he fell in love with. With the anxiety, I'm still that girl that he's in love with. Do you get it? That's a small example that I'm trying to make. Cool. And then the third thing, allowing yourself room to make mistake. That is a sign of someone with a good mental health. There is nothing as that is so sad in the anxiety world as when you beat yourself up about anything and everything. I do it a lot. I do it a lot. I do it a lot. I think that for me was part of the reasons why I couldn't stay at my old job, because I knew that I wouldn't be okay, because when I made a mistake, I just went into a state of wanting to do 150% when I know I can only do 100%. Do you get it? So yeah, I'll get to that some other day, but not today. So I think allowing yourself room to actually make mistakes, because we're all human, and not beating up yourself about something. And when you make that mistake, you go and do the same thing again and get it right. It's as simple as that. But someone with mental health issues, when they do a mistake, they refrain from going through that again, because they feel as though I messed up here and I'm not willing to mess up again. Cool. And then the fourth thing is that being able to support emotion with evidence. I think that is, I've covered that. That's a sign of a good mental health space. When you feeling a type of way, you say, okay, what real evidence is there that, this way that I'm feeling is actually, is even real. So trying to balance how you feel with evidence that sort of will give you comfort that the feeling that you have is actually really valid in that moment in time. And then the last thing I think is a sign of good mental health is confidence. People who suffer from mental health issues, they suffer a lot with low self-esteem, low confidence. I was there. Like I would be in a space where I'm in a meeting and I just wanna hide because I do not feel confident to actually voice out certain things, to speak about certain things, even things that I know that I'm very comfortable with talking about them. That like, oh, my confidence took a knock. My confidence took a knock, but I'm glad because I knew I was a very confident person. Like I was, before my mental health, I knew I was confident. So I knew underneath it all, that confident young girl was still there. And she's slowly coming back. She's slowly coming back. But I think that's what we mean. That's basically what I wanted to cover. But that's basically what I think we mean when we talk about conceptualizing a good mental space, aiming for a good mental health. I think this varies and differs to individuals, so don't take mine as, but I think in one of those, the one that needs to apply to everyone is the point when you can differentiate between emotions that have no evidence and emotions that have evidence. I think that's the point where you start getting a handle on your mental illness. Support a feeling with some form of evidence. You can't be scared of something. Yes, you're scared of an unknown, but what real evidence is there that certain thing is going to impose danger on you? So I hope you all enjoyed this video. And this was one of the topics I wanted to cover a long time ago, but I think I've been getting the question quite frequently now that I thought, okay, let me just shoot the video. But as I've mentioned in the video yesterday, I do want some people to come forward and sit next to me and we share a video and we tell our stories. Remember, when you're no longer scared to talk about your mental illness, it means that you are getting into a good mental well-being space. I hope you guys will have a beautiful Sunday with your families. It's relatively cold in Cape Town, so now I'm going to go and snuggle in front of the TV. But I hope you guys will have a blessed and beautiful week. Love you all. Bye.